Hi, my name is Teresa Kovlak, and today I will be showing you how I painted one of these soft little paintings. So the things that you will be needing is some alcohol inks. The ones that I'm using are made by Ranger, and we have Pistachio, Mermaid, Shell Pink, and Pink Sherbet. I'm also going to be using a little bit of the pitch black to work on my Birch Tree. And I have some alcohol blending solution. This is made by Ranger also. So set those aside and let's go ahead and get started. I will be painting on the craft plastic. And I'm going to set these aside so that I don't splash on them. And the craft plastic, it's very similar to the Yupo paper. So you can use either one. This is actually some scrap paper that I have cut aside, and I take it on the road with me just to do demos. So first thing I'm going to do is I put on a fair amount of the blending solution, and then I take my inks and I just give them a splash on. And sometimes I'll add a little bit more or a little bit less. So I'm just giving it a little splash. And I'm going to take my paper and I'm just tipping it. I want my inks to cover the whole page. And then when I see it how I would like it, I stop tipping. And we're going to see where this takes us. So I do like to let it dry on its own on this one, just because it helps blend the colors. I'll be using a fan brush. This works great. It is a smaller fan brush. This is made for the acrylics, and it works perfectly well. So I'm just dipping my fan brush into some alcohol and then wiping it off on my paper towel. And I'm going to start working on my horizon line, which will be about right here. This is going to be where my pond will be. Just going to give this another little tip. Now when I painted the other painting, I was actually sitting outside at the market. I do a little market in Ann Arbor. I am a Michigan girl, so that's where I show and sell a lot of my work. Okay, and we're going to bring a little bit more blue into the pond area where I'm going to have a pond. And I have ink in a tray. So it's a tray like this that I can just grab from. I'm just grabbing some of this ink from down below, bringing it up. I find one of the tricks to painting with the alcohol inks is giving it a little bit of time to work for you. and also less is more. So use less ink, and I think you'll like your painting a lot better. Give this another tip. I'm just kind of letting it dry on its own. And I like that there. I'm going to dry it down a tiny bit just because I want to keep going with this. So let me just give a quick little air on it. And to put in our birch tree, we're going to take it about right here and on up. And I am just using a Q-tip to do this. And I had very little alcohol on it. And while that's drying down a little, we're going to go ahead and put in some lily pads. And I just kind of splotch them in, just kind of here and there. Some want to grow a little bit on you, and when they do, I give it just a little blow real quick with myself. And this is more of an abstract painting, so my lily pads are just kind of out there. I have very little ink on my brush and very little solution on my brush. So I'm just kind of dipping in. And I'll paint until my brush is dry and doesn't have any more ink that wants to go down. And we'll do some little flowers. You want to make sure you don't have too much blending solution or alcohol on your brush when you do this. I'm just kind of splotching some in there. And then clean off my brush. Grab one of my little trays here. I am going to use a little bit of raspberry just to give it a little more accent. So that's the raspberry. It's also made by Ranger. And you can see it's super bright pink. But I want that so I can just go in and add some color to those. Just kind of blotch it in there. They don't have to be perfect. Remember, I said a little goes a long ways. You can see just a tiny bit in there. I'll let that dry down for a second and then go back in over top of it again. I don't want a real wet brush. I think the biggest thing about alcohol inks is just letting it work for you. You know, let the colors blend and make the different patterns. It'll really help you out. So there we go. We got a little pink in there. And then we're going to do our birch tree. I always paint with my black in a separate container. And I usually start from the top down. I kind of go in where the different little branches come together. I start there. And then I just start adding just different marks. The birch trees have a lot of texture to their bark. You'll see a lot of black lines and splotches. I'll turn that around. Now, if I wanted leaves in my tree, I would do those before I started the black. And we're gonna go ahead and put a little heart in here. Just to show our love. And if you don't want so many black splotches, you don't have to have them. And if you ever see birch trees, they usually have dead little twigs on the side, just kind of growing. They were there and now they're just hanging out with the birch tree. Just kind of be loose on your painting and turn this around and add a little more. Just kind of random areas, not putting a lot of pressure on my brush at all. Turn it back around, take a look at it. That's the nice thing about kind of working all over on the tree is you look at the different areas instead of just one area at a time. And then most birch trees will also have some dead branches on them, kind of in the top and middle. So we're going to put a few branches. And I do tap off on my paper towel before I go on, just to make sure I don't have too much ink. They don't have to be perfect, just kind of bring them over and I kind of like that right there. So let's turn it around and take a look at it. It's pretty decent. Maybe just a little bit up here. Just want to make sure I didn't forget any areas, kind of glance at it. And then now we want to go in here and finish up around the little pond. Clean my brush down a little. I'm going to go ahead and grab my fan brush again. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this green. Tap it on my paper towel because I don't want too much. These trays work real nice. You can reuse your ink over and over. And then we're going to pull some grass up. So I'm just taking my brush and I'm pulling in an upward motion. Very little ink, very little moisture on my brush. And then we're going to go back in on these little lily pads. And just with a little bit of that blending solution on my brush, I'm just taking a little bit of color off. It'll add for a little bit of highlights. I just have a little bit of blending solution on my brush. I actually wipe it off. And I'm just kind of rubbing a little bit of that paint, a little bit of ink. Just want to pick up a little color reflection. I don't want too much ink on my brush, just a tiny bit. And I'd like to make that grass just a tiny bit greener. Let's see if I got me, guess we'll use this little cup because I don't have my trays handy. So normally I would have this in a tray, but this will work. Put a little bit of ink in there. I just want to brighten up this grass a little. There we go. I like that a lot better. And maybe a little up by the pond too. So I'm just giving it a little wiggle. Well, there you have it. We could add our birds in real quick because we forgot about them, or I forgot about them. So let me add them in real quick for you. Put them about maybe right here. I'm just going to make it like a V shape. And a little friend. And there we go. There is the same colors painted by me more than once. And it just goes to show you they come out a little bit different each time. So I'll show you all three pieces. Go ahead and put this down so we can see a little bit better. So I'm using the same colors, same techniques. Make sure you can see that there. Let's see. So this is the one we just painted. These are the two that I did before. So it just goes to show you, you can have the same colors and your painting can come out different each time. And that's okay. They should all be a little bit different. So I hope this video and tutorial was helpful to you. You can find more of my work on Facebook and Instagram. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and that lets me know that you'd like to see more. Again, my name is Teresa Kovlak. Have a great rest of your day and happy painting.